Bonjour and welcome back to Pierre's Kitchen. First of all, I would like to say thank you to all of you who subscribed to the channel, and also thank you to all the new viewers of this video. This recipe will make eggplant skeptics realize they are really missing on something. The eggplant dish we will prepare today will make you want to eat more and more after every bite you take, and there is a good reason to that. It's because that salad is so well balanced with freshness, acidity, and you will see with the right seasoning that salad is just a gourmet salad. I'm sure you will enjoy it. So let me share with you now all the ingredients we need in order to prepare that beautiful eggplant salad. Let's start with the eggplants. We will use classic purple eggplants, the same one that Lebanese chefs use generally to make salads, some spring onions, a little bit of Greek yogurts, a couple of spoons only, half a handful of walnuts halves, some salt, a small bunch of dill, a small cube of feta cheese that will bring a lovely texture to that salad, a long red sweet pepper, a fresh lemon. We will also use a touch of garlic, fresh garlic, and we will not cook it. And if you don't like the taste of raw garlic, you can also use dry garlic. It is not as strong. Use the powder. It is better than the flakes, in my opinion, to do that salad. And we will also need a good amount of olive oil to bake those eggplants and to season the salad at the end. And in order to finalize that seasoning, we will use a little bit of white balsamic vinegar. It helps a lot in balancing the sweetness in that salad. So if you never tried it, please try it out. It's just a beautiful vinegar for simple salads. And to complement that dish, we will also use a little bit of rucola or rocket. It will bring some bitterness to that dish and balance everything out. And now that you know everything about the ingredients in that recipe, let's get started. We will take care of the eggplants, but first of all, let's set our oven on dry heat at around 200 Celsius, which is about 390 degrees Fahrenheit. And once you washed the eggplants, you can cut them into two halves. We will now do a few scars into those eggplants. And please try not to mutilate them, as we will try to use the actual skin for presentation. It will be great because you can see the whole vegetable, and this is really the main ingredient, so I think it's a good idea to use the actual shell as presentation. Now on a tray we will put a parchment paper, and yes, there is a side to the parchment paper. You can see one side is slightly more rubbery than the other. And now we're gonna drizzle a good amount of olive oil on that tray, and we will try to soak every half of eggplant into that oil. A little bit like a sponge, and you really want to use the remaining oil and massage those eggplant with that oil, so the heat will really get into that eggplant and get it properly cooked. So let's now bake them and get back to it in about 30 minutes and see how they're doing. So while the eggplants are now baking, we will take care of the walnuts and we will chop them roughly. We don't want to do anything too small, so just rough cut. We will now gently sizzle our spring onion, and we try to sizzle it finely. We will chop some of that dill quite thinly, so we have some of that taste everywhere in the salad. We will do some small dices of feta, and try not to do them too big, so when you eat a spoon, you have actually a little bit of feta everywhere as well. And we will now take care of that long red sweet pepper. We will do a very small brunoise, so we will slice it first and then do very small dices out of it. We call that cut brunoise. And we will now take care of our main dressing for the seasoning. In a small bowl, we will actually use a micropan grater, and we will only get a touch of garlic into the bottom of that bowl. That way, let's add now the thin brunoise of red pepper we just made. And we will now zest the skin of that lemon we have. Let's add a drizzle of wild balsamic vinegar and also a good drizzle of olive oil, just about 2 tablespoons of each. And we will also add a juice of half a lemon. This will help to lacto-ferment a little bit the sweet pepper before we incorporate it into the eggplants. So we've been checking those eggplants out and they look great. Look at that, they're soft, they cooked inside, and look at that. The fact that you are actually cooking them side down, I mean, I prefer it. They get slightly crispy, the olive oil went in and it just baked in its own juice. I mean, it's just beautiful. That's how, in my opinion, you get the full taste of the eggplant. We will try to scoop out as much of the flesh of the eggplants we can find, and we try to do it carefully so we keep at least a couple of shells for the presentation. I mean, they had that beautiful golden color when they came out of the oven, so I know that recipe is gonna taste great this time. When you see these kinds of color, you know it's gonna be a great salad. So let's now transfer the flesh of those eggplants into a bowl. And we will add to it the dressing we just made and save a little of the dressing for the decoration at the end, and also we will use it as a dressing for the rucola salad we will put on the side. You can now throw in the chopped walnuts. So let's add the Greek yogurt, 2 or 3 spoons, and let's add now the feta cheese, the spring onion and the dill, and we can now toss gently those eggplants with all the ingredients, and look at those colors. It's just magic, honestly. I love it. And we will actually rectify slightly the seasoning, add a touch of salt if you need to. Be careful, the feta cheese is already salty, so you just rectify the seasoning to taste. For my part, I added a little more of that white balsamic vinegar and it was just perfect. Saltiness, sweetness, acidity, and the flavors in that salad are just great. A little bit of garlic to kick all that, the herbs. I mean, you will enjoy it, I'm sure. So let's not get carried away, and we can now plate our eggplant. So I use the shell, I think it's great, so the presentation is kind of nice and changing from the usual. We can now try. I mean, I love that salad, and I tell you, everybody that I made it to really loved it. They ask me for it again and again, so I'm sharing it with you today. I mean, it's been a pleasure. I want to thank you again for tuning in onto the channel. And if you really enjoy that recipe and you feel you've learned something and you want to support the channel, you can subscribe, leave a comment, or push the like button. The social media from the channel will be listed down below. Thank you for taking the time to watch that video, and until next time, keep cooking and bon appétit!